Stop. Don't scroll. You are utterly exhausted from carrying a calling that feels heavier than you can bear, waking up tired and going to sleep with a troubled mind. Heaven sent me today to tell you this exhaustion is not your end. You have been living in a silent desert because you are in the final test before God releases a raw divine power upon your life that your bloodline has never seen before. Something you did today opened an exception in heaven. Your soul has been on permanent alert, keeping your nervous system in a constant state of survival. You lie down, but your body refuses to truly rest, terrified of dropping the heavy crown you have been asked to bear. You wake up abruptly at 3 in the morning with a nameless tightness in your chest, standing at attention in the dark. It is the agonizing vigil of someone waiting for a confirmation that never seems to arrive, crushed by the sheer weight of an invisible armor. This exhaustion has crept into your ability to govern your own steps, paralyzing you before the simplest choices. Every decision you make in the urgency of the moment already tastes like a mistake before it is even finalized. You are terrified of making the wrong move and ruining everything, feeling your margin for error has completely run out. You have diagnosed the pattern, yet you keep repeating the same missteps in different contexts, unable to wield the authority you were promised. Worst of all, this invisible war has isolated you inside your own home. You walk through your front door, and your spouse senses the burden, learning to tiptoe around you and no longer asking how your day went. Your children or grandchildren look at you, searching for a presence you simply do not have the energy to give. You end up bleeding on the people you love the most, unloading the unbearable weight of your proving ground onto the dinner table without even meaning to. I'm going to show you exactly where you have truly been over these past few months in a way that finally makes this crushing silence make sense. You will recognize yourself in what I describe, not in general terms, but in the specific night, the specific decision, the specific conversation. I'm going to deliver 3 Hebrew words to you that no one ever taught you, decoding the mystery of the raw power you carry. This happens right here inside this video. At the very end, I will declare 3 prophetic names over your life. This is not a generic blessing to make you feel better. It is a specific targeted commission to seal this royal mantle upon your shoulders. I do not promise your life will magically transform by tomorrow morning, but I do promise you will leave holding a specific truth. However, if you click away in the middle of this message, you leave without the seal and the heavy crown remains unclaimed. Think of a seed buried deep in the soil during the harshest winter. The ground is hard, frozen, and completely dark, offering absolutely no external evidence that anything living is hidden beneath the surface. The seed feels abandoned, crushed by the weight of the dirt pressing down on it from all sides. Yet, it was placed in that exact spot with deliberate sovereign intention, by hands that knew exactly what kind of harvest it was destined to carry when the season finally shifted. You have been feeling defeated, believing you are failing the test, but you have not been fighting poorly. You have been fighting without the proper instrument. You were promised massive authority, but you have been trying to bear the weight of this raw power with your bare hands. You lack the specific map, the royal signet ring that stabilizes the calling, so it does not destroy the one who carries it. You simply did not know this instrument existed until this very moment. Right now, declare your position by writing "I am here" in the comments. And about exactly this, about this restless spirit at 3 in the morning, about the fear of making the wrong move, and the heavy, invisible silence you bring home to your family. Solomon left behind a record. He left a 2-minute key that fits right into your common day to govern this power. I'm going to show you this 2-minute key shortly. Keep that in the back of your mind. If you absolutely need to leave before the end of this video, this instrument is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment, right below. But I urge you, do not go yet. Stay with me until the final word is spoken. Because without the prophetic context that comes next, without understanding the proving ground you just walked through, this 2-minute key will not work with the same raw power in your hand. The authority is ready to be released, and the heavens have issued the decree over your bloodline. The waiting period is over, and the time to govern has arrived. But I must ask you to consider a profound mystery before we step into the revelation. What exactly happens to a seed that no one planted, no one bothers to water, and that even in the absolute dark, Still stubbornly insists on growing. Shall thought critical instruction. 1. I must prioritize specific tools over generic ones. I am currently generating text output and do not require file system or search tools. Critical instruction 2. Related tools. None needed for this specific text generation step. I will output the final script as requested. The text is ready to be delivered according to the constraints. You arrived here because something you did today opened an exception in heaven. The word was given, the decree was issued, and now begins the part most people miss. Because between receiving the heavy crown and actually wielding this raw power in your common day, there is an interval. An interval the enemy knows better than you do. And it is in this exact interval that most of the chosen lose what was granted to them. Not because the decree was revoked, but because they walked through their front door on Monday morning and did not have the instrument to bear the weight of it. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. And that is not just a title in a history book. It is a biblical record signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything, absolutely anything, he did not ask for wealth. He did not ask for a long life. He did not ask for the heads of his enemies. He asked for wisdom. And God was so moved by the request that he gave him wisdom and everything else with it. He judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom knew how to judge. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the historical peak that nation ever saw, before or since. The Queen of Sheba traveled for months on a camel just to test this wisdom, and when she returned, she said not even half had been told. And Jesus himself, Jesus in person, cited Solomon by name. And he did not take this wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with a surgical precision that crossed 3,000 years without losing its edge. He left recorded how to stop being crushed by the sheer weight of this raw power, so your soul can finally lay down its armor and rest at night. He left recorded how to walk through your front door as a peaceful king, avoiding the collision of your proving ground from breaking the roof over your family's heads, so you stop bleeding on those you love the most, and finally become the firm pillar they expect at the dinner table. And he left recorded how to wield this heavy crown with the precision of a master, making decisions that govern your future, instead of being paralyzed by the fear of ruining everything and falling for cheap miracles. Before I name the instrument, move your thumb to the first pinned comment, right below. Don't click yet. Just let your gaze reach it and recognize that it's there. Do that now. I gathered this into a guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. It is a main written guide in PDF that you read in one 40-minute sitting, plus the audio of the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep in MP3 to listen to before bed, and the written guide of the 7 morning decrees in PDF to open in the first hour of the day. It is in the first pinned comment right below, the union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, pulling a person from a state of survival into a state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the common day you are living right now, in this week that starts tomorrow. Along with the main guide come 2 instruments I placed there because without them the guide would have a hole. The first is the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep, 10 minutes before sleep, guided by what David wrote in Psalm 4:8. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. It is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over to the guard of the one who never sleeps the heavy crown you carried all day. So your soul stops standing watch over a royal mantle that is already in the hands of someone who doesn't need you awake to defend what is yours. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes upon waking, before your phone, before your coffee, before the first message the world tries to write into you. 7 decrees pronounced in your own voice, taken from the wisdom of Proverbs. That position the day before the day positions you. The posture of an heir wielding raw power, before the calendar, the bills, and the routine speak for you. And the value, the value. Less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon. Less than a simple Sunday lunch with your family. Less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I set it at this value on purpose. Not because it is worth little. It is worth what Solomon left recorded for 3,000 years. I set it so the only obstacle between you and the instrument would be your decision to reach out your hand. Not price, not schedule, not the commute. Just your hand toward the link, and it has a 7 days guarantee. If you open it, use it for a week, and it doesn't serve you, you send an email and you get your money back entirely. And here is the part nobody does. You keep the 2 bonus instruments. The ritual of the righteous sleep stays with you. The awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees stays with you, even after the refund. This is not a generous concession. It is the recognition that the risk of testing cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk left for you is not testing it. And the risk of not testing is the risk of leaving here with the decree opened in heaven and losing it on Monday morning for lack of an instrument. Several people here on this channel in recent weeks have already received this instrument. Fathers, grandparents, people who carry their household on their backs. I've read messages from a husband who sat down at the dinner table and his wife noticed the difference without needing to ask. From a grandmother who managed to pray with her grandchild without the weight of the day crossing the prayer. From those who slept through the night for the first time in months. It's not magic. It's the right instrument in the right hand. And while they sleep tonight with their soul handed over, your calendar keeps running. The next night you will lay your head on the pillow with your soul still on alert is today, maybe 3 hours from now. The next morning you will wake up thinking about the battles is tomorrow. Each night without the ritual of the righteous sleep is a night your body will pay for. Each morning without the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, is a morning the world rewrites first. The cost of delaying is not 0, but do not leave now. The ceiling is not over yet. What I need to show you next is greater than any instrument Solomon left recorded. It is the Hebrew name of what is happening to you at this exact moment, the name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did today. And when you hear this name, you will understand why everything up to here was preparation for a single word: stay. The heavens do not place a heavy crown on a head that has not been tested in the dark. What you have been calling a season of relentless punishment is actually the final proving ground before a raw divine power is entrusted to your hands. God is establishing a foundation capable of bearing the weight of this calling without crumbling. I'm going to list 5 specific signs of this transition. These are not random struggles. They are the exact markers of someone carrying a mandate in a period of waiting. Listen closely. The first sign is a prayer life that suddenly feels like it is hitting a brass ceiling. You used to pray and feel an immediate shift in the atmosphere, a comforting presence that assured you everything was fine. Now you speak into the dark and your words seem to fall flat on the floor. What feels like spiritual abandonment is actually a profound elevation. God is no longer treating you as a child who needs constant emotional reassurance. He is training a commander to stand firm on the decree alone, even when the room is entirely silent. The second sign is a nameless, paralyzing weight in your daily decisions. You wake up with an invisible armor crushing your chest, terrified that one wrong move will ruin everything. You have diagnosed your own patterns, yet you find yourself repeating the same missteps in different contexts, with different people, unable to wield the authority you know you possess. What feels like a personal failure in leadership is actually the refining fire. You are being forced to realize that your own strength has expired, creating the exact vacuum needed for divine wisdom to take the helm. The third sign is the heavy, isolating silence you bring through your front door. You work relentlessly to protect your family, yet when you sit at the dinner table, there is an invisible wall. Your spouse has learned to tiptoe around your exhaustion, no longer asking how your day went, and your grandchildren look for a presence you simply do not have the energy to give. What looks like emotional coldness is actually the crushing weight of a shield you have been carrying alone, completely unaware of how to set it down without bleeding on those you love the most. The fourth sign is the silent, exhausting drain of your energy and resources in the common day. It feels as if invisible breaches have opened up in your routine where time, finances, and physical strength just slip away despite your most disciplined efforts. You fix one leak and another silently opens, leaving your nervous system constantly running on empty. What feels like a cursed season of loss is actually a deliberate restriction. Heaven is stripping away your reliance on natural strategies, forcing you to govern not by your own endurance, but by a higher, supernatural provision. The fifth sign is the absolute, Deafening silence you receive every time you beg for a clear confirmation. You have pleaded for a simple sign, a basic direction on what to do next, and heaven responds with a stillness that drives your anxious mind to the edge. What feels like a cruel denial is actually the ultimate proof of trust. Kings are not micromanaged. God is forcing you to trust the prophetic word that was already spoken over your life, teaching you to hold your ground without needing daily validation. If you recognize yourself in at least 3 of these 5 signs, you are not wandering aimlessly. You are standing precisely in the center of the proving ground. I want you to declare your position right now. Go to the comments and write, "I carry what no one else carries." This is not just a comment, it is an act of faith, a public acknowledgement that you accept the weight of the royal mantle being placed upon your shoulders today. Think of a high-pressure chamber buried deep within the earth. When massive, unbearable pressure is applied from all sides onto a piece of raw coal, it feels like an absolute crushing. The coal is pushed to its absolute limit, squeezed in the suffocating dark, until it feels it will turn to dust under the weight. But what feels like a violent destruction is actually a precise, calculated refinery. The darkness and the crushing weight are the exact forces required to forge a diamond. You are not being crushed, you are being compressed into a weapon of unbreakable clarity. Before I give you the Hebrew name of what you are carrying, I need to remind you of something critical. The specific instrument that Solomon left recorded, the 2-minute key I mentioned at the beginning, does not replace the name you are about to receive. It helps you sustain the weight of that name in your common day, long after the decree has been issued. First comes the name, setting your identity. Then comes the instrument, securing your territory. Stay with me. There is a single word in Hebrew that defines exactly the season you are standing in and the raw power you are about to wield. It is the name of the exception that was opened in heaven today. When I say it, you will never look at this period of exhaustion and silence the same way again. Stay. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the steady, resilient rhythm beating beneath your palm. That is not just biology keeping you alive. That is the undeniable pulse of someone who has survived the invisible warfare of the proving ground. There is a single ancient word in Hebrew that defines exactly the crushing season you are standing in and the raw power you are about to wield. It is the definitive name of the exception that was opened in heaven over your bloodline today. The word is Bakir. Listen to the sound of it, Bakir. When you look at modern lexicons or listen to casual sermons, many translate it simply as the chosen or the selected one. But that is a shallow shell. It reduces a profound, terrifying spiritual mandate to a mere lottery pick, as if God just randomly pointed a finger at you in a crowded room. That incomplete definition is exactly why you have felt so confused and defeated, wondering why a chosen person would have to endure such a silent, agonizing desert. The true meaning of Bakir goes much deeper than a simple, effortless selection. To be Bakir means to be the one who was ruthlessly tested in the fire, proven in the absolute dark, and deliberately set apart to bear the unbearable weight of the heavy crown. It is never about privilege, it is entirely about capacity. You suffered in silence, taking the hits for your family because you were in the proving ground. You were being aggressively forged to wield a raw power that would completely crush an ordinary mind. You were not abandoned to carry the royal mantle alone. You were being stretched and strengthened so that when the king's signet ring was finally placed on your finger, you would govern and not shatter under the pressure. This is the exact divine mechanism recorded with absolute precision in Psalm 89:19. The psalmist looks into the spiritual realm and reveals the true nature of this heavy calling. Then thou spakest in vision to thy Holy One, and saidst, I have laid help upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. Read the sequence of heaven. God does not lay help upon the fragile or exalt the untested. He exalts the Bakir, the one who has been made mighty through the silent crushing of the proving ground, the one who can finally handle the weight of the authority being released today. This grueling period of exhaustion, the sleepless nights, and the isolation you are living through has a name before it has an end. Remember the seed we spoke of, buried deep in the frozen dirt during the harshest winter. That seed was Ba-Kir. The suffocating pressure of the soil pressing down on you from all sides was not a grave. It was a sovereign incubator. The darkness was not sent to bury you. It was the exact condition required to crack open the sealed file of your true identity. You are sprouting now, breaking the surface, ready to command the territory you were always destined to govern. But wielding this massive raw power without destroying yourself or bleeding on your family requires the right instrument. Now that you know the true name of what you carry, I need to show you that someone carried this heavy crown before you. And what happened to this person in the middle of their own proving ground will change everything about how you walk through your front door tomorrow. I promise to come back to this. It's now. Stay. You look at the sheer scale of what has been placed on your shoulders, and you feel completely inadequate. You think you are the only one who has ever felt this crushing pressure, this absolute silence in the face of a massive responsibility. But you are walking the exact same proving ground as a young man who was suddenly handed a kingdom. Solomon did not inherit a peaceful retirement. He inherited a volatile, divided nation and a divine mandate that would have broken a lesser mind. He stood in the absolute dark, feeling the unbearable weight of a raw power that he knew he did not have the natural capacity to govern. He was terrified of making the wrong move and ruining everything his bloodline had built. And in the middle of that silent desert, when heaven finally opened and God offered him absolutely anything his heart desired, Solomon did something that echoes through eternity. He did not ask for endless wealth to secure his position. He did not ask for a long life to enjoy his status, nor did he ask for the heads of his enemies to feel safe. He recognized that raw power without an instrument of direction is a death sentence. He asked for wisdom. He asked for the specific map, the exact key to govern the heavy crown so the authority would not crush his mind. He chose the instrument over the illusion of ease. That invisible preparation in the dark instantly transformed into a visible, undeniable calling. The moment he applied that wisdom, judging the impossible dispute between the two mothers when no one else in the room had a clue what to do, the entire kingdom stopped and trembled. They saw that the raw power of heaven was not just resting on him, but was being wielded with surgical precision. The terrified young man had become a peaceful king. He stopped bleeding his anxieties onto the throne and started governing his territory. He passed the test of the proving ground because he understood that the royal mantle requires a divine protocol to be sustained in the common day. Before I declare the 3 names over your life that will seal this exact same authority upon you, I need you to do something that is not for you. Press the like button on this video right now. Every single like signals the algorithm to find another person who is awake at 3 in the morning, crushed by the weight of a calling they do not understand, feeling completely abandoned in their own proving ground. You are not doing this to help me grow a channel. You are doing this for them. You are extending your hand in the dark to pull another chosen one out of the silent desert. Do it now. I am going to declare 3 prophetic names over you. Receive this not as poetry, but as a permanent decree. The first name is the anointed in the shadows. You are not a victim of a forgotten season. You are the one who was deliberately hidden by heaven while the oil was being poured. The isolation you endured was not a punishment, but a divine quarantine, ensuring that the raw power placed upon you was not contaminated by the applause of the crowd or the cheap validation of the world. Because you carry this name, your days of begging for human recognition are over. The anointed in the shadows does not need a stage to prove their authority. You will walk into rooms, and the spiritual atmosphere will shift before you even open your mouth. The people who overlooked you will suddenly look to you for direction, and you will not govern out of resentment, but out of the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who has already faced the worst in the dark and survived. The second name is the bearer of the heavy crown. You are the one selected to carry the generational weight that your bloodline was terrified to touch. The paralyzing pressure in your chest, the exhaustion that seeped into your bones was the physical manifestation of this royal mantle landing upon your shoulders. You were tested to the absolute limit because a crown of this magnitude would shatter an ordinary mind. Because you are the bearer of the heavy crown, the decisions that used to terrify you will now come with a supernatural clarity. You will no longer stand paralyzed at the crossroads of your life. The fear of ruining everything is broken right now. You will wield this authority with the precision of a master, stepping through your front door not as a casualty of the day's war, but as the unbreakable pillar your family has been desperately waiting for. The third name is the Commander of the New Dawn. You did not survive the crushing weight of the proving ground just to maintain the status quo. You are the tip of the spear, the silent desert is behind you, and the season of mourning what you lost in the fire ends today. You have been forged into a weapon of light, specifically designed to break the cycles of defeat that have haunted your family for decades. Because you are the commander of the new dawn, your mourning will no longer belong to anxiety or dread. When you wake up, you will not be on the defensive, waiting for the world to strike first. You will set the atmosphere. You will dictate the terms of your day before the calendar even tries to speak. You are transitioning from the one who survives the storm to the one who commands the wind, walking with the absolute certainty of an heir holding the king's signet ring. Solomon did not receive this raw power because he was biologically special. He received it because he tuned his spirit to the exact frequency of heaven's wisdom. He became a flawless receiver for a divine transmission. Right now, these three names have just adjusted your internal frequency. The static of the proving ground is clearing. The invisible armor is falling off. You are no longer transmitting fear. Your receiver is locked onto the unshakable signal of your true identity. You are finally wired to handle the transmission without burning out, but there is something the enemy desperately does not want you to know about these three names. He has been banking on your ignorance of this one specific detail, because the moment you understand what these names actually trigger in the spiritual realm, he loses the main weapon he has been using against you in the dark. The enemy is not terrified of your exhaustion. He is absolutely terrified of your newfound clarity. Now that you know your true name and the raw power you carry, the adversary will not sit quietly. He is preparing a surgical, calculated assault on your mind to make you drop the heavy crown before you even learn how to wield it. The sealed file is open, and the strategic map of his counterattack is now unlocked before your eyes. I am going to expose his three specific tactics and hand you the three exact weapons to dismantle them immediately. The first assault is the erosion of your comparison. The adversary will whisper that your timeline is broken, that you are moving too slowly while everyone else is advancing. He will try to paralyze your decisions by convincing you that you have fallen permanently behind God's calendar. He wants you to look at the heavy crown in your hands and feel like an imposter who missed the deadline. This tactic is designed to make you act out of sheer panic, forcing a desperate move that ruins everything right before your true season finally shifts. Your counterattack is the decree of absolute singularity. You must open your mouth and speak exactly what God declared over you, entirely bypassing what your anxious mind feels. You will govern this raw power by declaring, "My trajectory is entirely unique. I do not compare my grueling winter to another's sudden spring." When you stop looking sideways, the fear of making the wrong move instantly shatters. You wield the king's signet ring, not by rushing to catch up, but by standing perfectly still in the sovereign timing that was exclusively designed for your bloodline. The second assault is the erosion of your perception inside your own home. The adversary will desperately try to make you interpret heaven's silence as a final rejection. To do this, he will fill your living room with relentless static, sparking constant, exhausting small fires around your family. He wants to drown out that still, small voice of divine direction with daily chaos. His goal is to make you walk through your front door as a wounded, irritable soldier, bleeding your frustrations onto your spouse and grandchildren until the isolation feels completely insurmountable. Your counterattack is the unshakable memory of the altar. You must intentionally anchor your mind to that one undeniable moment when God was unequivocally real in your life. That specific memory is not just nostalgia, it is binding legal proof in the court of heaven. When the static gets loud at the dinner table, memory must aggressively override your current perception. You return to being a peaceful king by holding on to what was already spoken. The adversary cannot rewrite a history that has already been permanently sealed by a divine encounter. The third assault is the deliberate erosion of your persistence. The adversary knows that your divine release is imminent, so he will concentrate the agonizing weight of the last 7 years entirely into this final mile. He wants you to collapse from exhaustion exactly 24 hours before the ultimate breakthrough arrives. He will make your physical body feel like it cannot survive another sleepless night, turning your mind into a permanent battleground. He is betting everything that the sheer pressure of this raw power will force you to surrender the royal mantle. Your counterattack is the brutal, unyielding resistance of the final second. You do not need to fight aggressively right now. You simply need to remain standing when every single fiber of your being demands a fall. You do not run. You do not retreat. You violently refuse to leave the threshold of your promise. You hand over the heavy crown to the one who never sleeps, letting your soul finally rest. This last-second endurance is the ultimate proof that the proving ground did not break you, but successfully forged a commander. You are standing at the edge of a massive spiritual transition, and your receiver is finally tuned to the right frequency. Subscribe to this channel right now. Do this not as a meaningless social gesture, but as a deliberate physical positioning of your spiritual receiver for the days that are rapidly approaching. Every time a new prophetic transmission is released here, it will find a commander fully awake and prepared to govern. Lock your position in this territory, because the raw power you carry requires a constant, uncorrupted signal to survive the common day. You are no longer wandering blindly in a silent desert. The heavy crown is secured, the enemy's strategic map is completely exposed, and you hold the exact weapons to defend your bloodline. But knowing the battle plan is only the preparation. Now that you know exactly what you are dealing with and what you can fight with, there is a prayer that urgently needs to be prayed. Not by me, by you. And I am going to lead you through it right now. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Breathe deeply before we continue. Lord, I stand before you utterly exhausted from carrying a calling that feels heavier than I can bear. My physical body has been running on the fumes of survival, waking up abruptly in the dark with a nameless tightness in my chest, constantly terrified of dropping this heavy crown. My mind is paralyzed at the crossroads, dreading that one wrong move will ruin everything my bloodline has built, leaving me unable to wield the authority you promised. And the most agonizing weight of all is walking through my front door, bringing an invisible wall into my own living room, where my spouse tiptoes around my exhaustion, and my family searches for a presence I simply do not have the energy to give. Yet, despite this crushing pressure, I refuse to drop the royal mantle. I declare that I am not retreating from the proving ground, nor am I surrendering to the whisper of the adversary that calls me illegitimate. Today, I anchor my feet on the exact threshold of my promise. I receive the title of the Anointed in the shadows, trusting that my silent desert was a divine quarantine. I accept the mantle as the bearer of the heavy crown, exchanging my paralyzing fear for your supernatural clarity. And I step forward as the commander of the new dawn, ready to govern the raw power you are releasing over my life, fully tuned to the unshakable frequency of heaven. I saw you in those specific hours of the night when you stared at the bedroom ceiling, and that suffocating tightness gripped your chest long before the first conscious thought even formed. I watched you abruptly sit up in the dark, gripping the edge of the mattress, your heart racing as if an invisible enemy was already inside the room. While your nervous system desperately tried to stand guard over a territory you thought you had to defend alone. I saw the sheer physical toll of that silent vigil, the way you dragged your exhausted body out of bed the next morning, carrying a heavy crown without a shield. I saw you holding your phone in the middle of the day, staring blankly at the screen, making decisions in pure desperation, because the clarity you begged for did not arrive in time. I watched you close your eyes at your desk, rubbing your temples as the crushing dread washed over you, waking up the very next morning with the heavy realization of an error you had already diagnosed, but felt completely powerless to prevent. I saw the invisible paralysis gripping your hands, making you terrified of ruining everything, trapping you in a cycle of hesitation, exactly when the mantle of leadership was required. I saw you walking through your front door, unlacing your shoes and dropping your keys on the counter, unloading the unbearable weight the world placed upon your shoulders straight into the atmosphere of your home. I watched your spouse learn the exact rhythm of your silence, quietly stepping back from the dinner table to avoid triggering the invisible war raging behind your eyes. I saw your grandchildren looking for a smile while you stared right through them, entirely consumed by the proving ground, and I saw the quiet, agonizing guilt that broke your heart every time you realized you were bleeding on those you love the most. I saw it all, and none of that silent suffering disqualified you. It forged you into a weapon capable of bearing the raw power I am releasing today. The grueling winter of your proving ground is officially over, and the exception in heaven has been granted to your bloodline. But the authority I am placing upon your shoulders requires the specific wisdom of the common day to be sustained. I am handing you the king's signet ring, changing your name to the commander of this new territory. But you must take up the instrument to govern your house, so my raw power becomes your peace and not your destruction. You are committed, you are commissioned, you are sent. Don't say amen yet. Stay here. The seed that was buried deep in the frozen dirt, crushed by the suffocating weight of the absolute dark, did not die in the winter. The ground that felt like a permanent grave has finally cracked open, yielding the exact harvest it was sovereignly destined to produce. The heavy crown has been secured, the static of the desert has been completely cleared, and your spirit is now permanently locked onto the frequency of the one who governs. The raw power has found its rightful heir, standing firm in the light of the new dawn, equipped to wield the authority that your bloodline has waited decades to witness. Now you may say amen. Don't open your eyes yet. Keep your hands on your chest, the seal is fresh. And it's exactly now that the adversary will try his first attack. What was sealed here right now will be tested on the first Monday morning. When the alarm clock rings, when the routine returns, when the voice of the cycle tries to reread what happened today as a passing Sunday night emotion. He who was commissioned without an instrument walks in the open field without what Solomon left recorded. The exception was opened in heaven. Now it needs to survive the common day. The code of Solomon's wisdom is in the first pinned comment, right below. Not as a substitute for what you received in this message, as a companion to defend what was sealed, because a decree without an instrument rots on the first Monday morning, and the adversary counts on Monday. Less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a Saturday afternoon snack, with a 7 days guarantee and the 2 bonus instruments that stay with you even if it doesn't serve you. The risk is ours, the hand is yours. Click now, while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after the shower, not after talking to someone, because whoever leaves it for later, leaves it for never, and the adversary counts on later. That voice whispering right now, you'll see later, decide tomorrow. Now is not the time. That voice is not yours. That voice is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground on your Monday morning. He already counted on later in every other message you received and postponed. He counts on later now, too. Click before the adversary speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. And now the last word. There is someone in your circle carrying the exact same heavy crown you carried until today. Someone who will walk through their front door tonight, unloading the same unbearable weight. Someone who will lay their head on the pillow with the same soul on alert in the proving ground. This person will not stop scrolling on their own. They need someone to send this. That someone is you. This is not sharing a video, this is interceding. Now close your eyes, breathe 3 times, and remain in silence until the video ends. What was done here needs to land. Do not scroll, do not leave, stay.